Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, hope you are all safe and healthy. So, continuation of my last class, I will start today the movements of GIT. So, what we have covered in the last class? Any idea? Hmm? What we have covered in the last class? Yes, what we have covered in the last class? Anyone? Yes, what we have covered? Unmute and you can tell. Last class is just one day previous, day before yesterday. Yes? What we have covered?
Deglutition.
Deglutation and
Mastication.
yes, process of mastication and deglutation. That is the movement of mastication and movement of swallowing we have discussed. Okay. So what are the phases of deglutation I told? What are the three phases of deglutation?
Oral, pharyngeal, esophageal.
Yeah, oral phase, pharyngeal phase and esophageal phase of deglutation. Okay, in that oral phase is voluntary, whereas the pharyngeal and esophageal phase is involuntary. Okay, so continuation of this, now we will move on to the movements of stomach and small intestine. Okay. So this I told you in the last class itself. So the GI tract spreads from mouth to anus. Those who have missed the last class can just listen to this. Okay, it will be like a introduction to them. Okay, and this GI tract is made up of long tubes with different structures and functions, and it has accessory glands like salivary glands, pancreas, liver and gallbladder are considered as accessory glands of gastrointestinal tract. Okay. So what is digestion? It is the process of breaking down food into a form where your body can use it. That is a process of breaking down of a complex food particle into an simplest food particle so that it is easy for absorption. Okay. So different phases include ingestion or taking in. Okay, taking in of food and swallowing, all those comes under ingestion. Then movements of gut are necessary for propulsion. If just you ingest the food, the job is not over. It has to be propelled, okay, from the different parts of GIT, because each and every part has its own function, isn't it? So for propulsion, for mixing and for absorption, the food particles has to be exposed to the mucosa, isn't it? For all those things we need movement of GIT. Okay, then mechanical and chemical digestion will occur in various part of GI tract. Then absorption of nutrients occur mainly in the intestine, duodenum and small intestine. Okay. Then ingestion or elimination of waste product which is not utilized by our body is eliminated. So these are the phases of digestion. Okay. So there are mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. So mechanical digestion, in this chewing, tearing, grinding, mashing and mixing occurs. In chemical digestion it is enzymatic digestion occurs. I hope all the classes has over about the function of gastric juice, pancreatic juice. In that you have learned in detail what is the enzymatic reaction for the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins and lipids in various part of GI tract. Okay. So now, so you know already this, it is from mouth to rectum. Okay. So regulation, it is mainly by the extrinsic innervation and intrinsic. Extrinsic innervation comes from autonomic nervous system, that is parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. Okay, so this diagram has shown the sympathetic and parasympathetic innervation to our GIT. Okay. Next is enteric nervous system. Enteric nervous system means it is in the GI tract itself. Okay, so this is also very important, and this enteric nervous system is controlled by extrinsic nervous system, that is autonomic nervous system. So what it has the submucosal plexus or Meissner's plexus. These are the submucosal plexus. They are in between the mucosal layer. Okay, that in between the inner longitudinal muscular layer and submucosa. Okay, so they are in the submucosal layer, and we have one more plexus, that is myenteric plexus. So these are the myenteric plexus. They are in between the longitudinal muscle layer and the circular muscle layer. I think now it is very clear. Okay, so these are the submucosal plexus or Meissner's plexus, which are in the submucosal layer. Okay, and these are the myenteric plexus. Okay, so they are present in between the muscular layer, that is in between the longitudinal muscles and circular muscles, and they are having more than 100 million neurons, and it is considered as a little brain. Okay, so both these plexus, that is myenteric and submucosal plexus, has enormous amount of neuron, more than how much we have in our spinal cord. Hence it is also called as little brain. Okay, so this is about the innervation of our GIT. And parasympathetic is increases the motility and sympathetic decreases the motility of GI tract. Okay, so parasympathetic increases motility and opens the sphincters, whereas sympathetic decreases the motility and increases the tone of sphincter. Okay, so this much in movements of GIT. So our GIT has skeletal muscles also. So skeletal muscles, already they are under our control. Like tongue and pharynx have skeletal muscle, upper two-third of the esophagus, and anal region sphincter. So we have voluntary control over these muscles, and smooth muscles have involuntary, and they are supplied by what I told, that is intrinsic control and extrinsic control. Okay, intrinsic control from parasympathetic neurons and sympathetic, and intrinsic is from the Meissner's and myenteric plexus, and extrinsic from the autonomic nervous system. Okay, now types of gastric motility. Now coming on to the motility of the stomach. Okay, so already the anatomy, gross anatomy of your stomach. So what are the parts of stomach? It has a fundus. Okay, this part is called, okay, the fundus. This is the lower esophageal sphincter. So the part above the lower esophageal sphincter is considered as fundus of stomach. Then this is the body of stomach. Okay, and this part is the antrum of the stomach, and this is pylorus. Okay, so here there is again one more sphincter, that is called as pyloric sphincter will be present. Okay, so this is the antrum and antral canal or pyloric canal, and this pyloric sphincter leads to opens into a duodenum. Okay, so this is the duodenum. It is a C-type structure. Okay, so this is about the anatomy of your stomach. So what are all the contraction you find in the stomach? So we have different types of movements, like hunger contraction, gastric relaxation, peristaltic movements, migrating motor myoelectric complexes, and reverse peristalsis. Okay, so these are all the movements you come across in stomach. That is, hunger contraction means these are the contraction occurs whenever the stomach is empty. Okay, those are called as hunger contraction. You might have heard of chuve daud rahe. Okay, whenever you feel hungry, you feel some contraction as if something is moving in your stomach, isn't it? So this is called as hunger contraction. This occurs whenever there is a stomach is empty. Okay, gastric relaxation is whenever you start chewing or something is there in your mouth, okay, or whenever you are swallowing, that time itself our stomach start relaxing. Okay, for accommodation of food, to accommodate the food, the our stomach will start relaxing. This is called as gastric relaxation or receptive relaxation. This is mediated by our vagus nerve. So whenever you are chewing something or still in a deglutition phase, our stomach starts relaxing. Okay, so to accommodate, so first it will be here, so it will relax for accommodation of whatever you will be ingesting or swallowing. Okay, so this is mediated by our vagus nerve. This is called as gastric relaxation. Okay, then we have the peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movements, you know, there will be a, these are ring type of contraction. Okay, so there is a ring of constriction. Here the circular muscles will constrict and they will propel the content forwards, and beyond the food there will be a relaxation. So here the wave of contraction preceded, way of relaxation preceded by way of contraction, that is called as peristaltic movement. Okay, so this begins mostly in the lower part of the body or antral region. Peristaltic movements occur in the antral region and they help maximally in the mixing and grinding of the food particles. Okay, and once the all of the food particles, so whatever we will ingest, it will be liquid, it will be solid. Okay, so many, so it variety of consistency of food we will take. But in stomach, because of this pyloric antral peristaltic movements, okay, everything will become in a semi solid or liquid form. Whatever we have ingested, that will combine with the gastric juice, and because of the continuous, so starting the pyloric sphincter will be closed. So whenever there is a peristaltic movement, the food particle will come back several times. Okay, hitting the closed pylorus, it come back sometime till all of the food will become semi-solid or smooth. Then little by little food is released from the pyloric sphincter is open, and little by little food is released to the duodenum. Okay, so that is called as peristaltic movement, and these peristaltic movements, they followed the basal electrical rhythm, BER. So stomach, like our heart is having SA node and sinus rhythm, isn't it? Like that our stomach is also having a pacemaker. So this is the pacemaker region which is on the upper part of the body of the stomach. From here the basal electrical rhythm will start. So these waves, when they reach to the threshold, then spike potential will be formed that leads to the peristaltic movements in the stomach. Okay, so there are 3 contraction per minute, that is per one contraction for 20 seconds. That is the rate at which the peristaltic movements occur in our stomach. Okay, so these peristaltic movements correlate with the basal electrical rhythm. Then we have migrating motor complexes. So these are the movements, gastric movements that occurs in interdigestive phase. Means whenever there is no food in the stomach, whenever no digestion is going on, that time these contraction occurs. They are called as migrating motor complexes. They occurs every one contraction for every 90 minutes. Okay, one contraction for every 90 minutes, and the function of this contraction is to clean up whatever is remaining in our stomach. They want to clean up from stomach, and even in the intestine same type of movement occurs. So they will clean whatever is remain. So they will prepare our stomach and intestine for fresh food which will ingest after 2 to 3 hours, isn't it? So they will prepare it. Hence they are called as housekeepers of GIT. Okay, because they will cleanse the stomach and intestine with whatever is remaining food is present. So they come in the interdigestive phase once in a 90 minutes. Okay, then we have the reverse peristaltic movements. So sometimes these are not common, normal. Okay, they are abnormal. So whenever if there is a obstruction is there in the pyloric region, or if there is any abnormality, then this most of the time or always the peristaltic wave start from the pacemaker's body and it will go to the anal region. That is the normal direction of passage of peristaltic wave. Sometimes in abnormal conditions, reverse peristaltic wave occurs, and that leads to vomiting. Okay, that leads to the content of the stomach will enter into the esophagus, and if the wave is very strong, the vomiting will occur. Okay, so these are the types of gastric motility, that is hunger contraction, gastric relaxation or receptive relaxation, peristaltic movements, migrating motor complexes, and reverse peristalsis. So in detail I have told in my future slides. So here is the diagram to make you understand the stomach motility. So here the receptive relaxation occurs. Okay, then accommodation of food occurs. Okay, so our stomach will also act as a reservoir of food. Whatever we have eaten, it will not go immediately into the duodenum. So it remains in our stomach for 2.5 to 3 hours. Okay, it remains. So our stomach acts as a reservoir, and tonic contraction no slow way. So during accommodation or receptive relaxation, there will not be any slow waves. Here the tonic contraction occurs. So during emptying, okay, pump function. So this our pylorus act as a pump. Okay, phasic contraction occurs. Slow waves, that the 3 waves per minute will start. They arise from the pacemaker which is present in the upper part of the body, and the pacemaker cells are called as interstitial cells of Kajal, or they are called as cells of Kajal, CAJAL. Okay, so this is about the motility of stomach to show diagrammatically. Okay, so here also it is seen. So this is relaxation or accommodate the meal. Okay, so these waves are strong in the fundus of the stomach. Then antrum, what is the function? Grinds and sieves solid. Okay, solid food particle, pumps chyme through pylorus. So the food in the stomach, after mixing with the gastric juice, when it becomes semi-solid, it is called as chyme. CHYMI. In the mouth, it is called as bolus, isn't it? When it is mixed with the saliva, we will swallow the bolus. In stomach, it becomes chyme. Okay. So now the phasic and tonic contraction. So our pyloric sphincter will contract and relax, and little amount of food will be released into the duodenum. So the presence of food particle in the duodenum will act feedback mechanism also. So it will inhibit, if something is there in the duodenum, it inhibit the contraction of antrum, so that till it will be clear, further release of food should not occur. Okay, so that is the function. Okay, so if the amino acids, or if there is a more acid food is present in the duodenum, then this will inhibit the stomach motility or antral contraction. Okay, so this is about the motility of stomach. Okay, so these are further some diagrams to make you clear what will happen. So relaxation of fundus, it is vagal mediated, as I told you, vasovagal response. Okay. So fundus act as a food store, body and antrum mix food, pylorus contract to limit exit of chyme. Okay, so pylorus contract so that small amount of food should be released. Okay, so at a time it should not be released. So food hits the closed pyloric sphincter and it will come back. That helps in mixing. Okay, mixing by retropulsion. So food will rotate here. Okay, it will hit and come back. So this movement will cause, this retropulsion will cause proper mixing and grinding and sieving of food. Okay, so contraction of food and contraction of body and antrum. So this is the initiation of peristaltic wave. So constriction behind the food, then the relaxation occurs in front of the food. Okay, so same type of contraction is shown here in this diagram also. So food hits the closed pylorus and it will come back. So this retropulsion helps in the proper mixing and grinding of food, and finally it will open little by little and little amount of food enters at a time. Okay. Now, coming on to the factors affecting gastric emptying. As I told you, so gastric emptying occurs in a slow manner, not at a time the content of the stomach will be given to the poured to the duodenum, isn't it? So, what are the factors? So, acid in the duodenum will slow the gastric emptying. Product of fats and protein digestion, if they are present in the duodenum, by negative feedback mechanism, they inhibit the gastric emptying. Osmolality of duodenal content. So, if the osmolality is more, okay, if the food is hyperosmolar, so this cause distension of duodenum and this prevent gastric emptying. If the food is hyperosmolar, shrinkage occurs. Okay, this may lead to emptying of the stomach. Okay, and volume of meal. Okay, so if the volume of meal is too much, the gastric emptying will be delayed. Vagotomy, if vagotomy has done, gastric emptying will be delayed, and sympathetic stimulation delays gastric emptying, whereas the vagal stimulation enhances gastric motility and emptying. And hormonal factors like cholecystokinin, pancreasamine, and gastric inhibitory peptide. So these are the hormones which are released from the small intestine. They again inhibit gastric emptying. Okay. So if these are there, means still digestion is going on, still food particle is there in the stomach, so and in the intestine. So gastric emptying will be delayed. Okay. So these are all the factors which affect gastric emptying. Now coming on to some of the applied aspect. So delayed gastric emptying occurs in autonomic neuropathy, like occurs in the diabetic mellitus patients following vagotomy for any reason. Okay. Then hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. If there is a stenosis or obstruction of pyloric sphincter, that may lead to the delayed gastric emptying. Okay, or carcinoma of pyloric sphincter may also occur. Then rapid gastric emptying occurs in increased vagal activity. Whenever there is an increase in parasympathetic activity or increased thyroid hormones, hyperthyroidism, or increased liquid content of the food. Okay, so if the food is in the form of a liquid, there is a gastric emptying will be fast. Okay, if the food is solid or if the food has more amount of proteins and fat, emptying will be delayed. If it has liquid and has more carbohydrate food, the gastric emptying will be fast. Okay, so increase liquid content of the food. Okay, these are some of the applied aspect. Now you must know about dumping syndrome also. Dumping syndrome occurs in gastrectomy patients. So in them half of the stomach or some part of the stomach is removed surgically. So what happens in them? The slow gastric emptying will not occur. Okay, most of the gastric content will be suddenly poured into the intestine or duodenum. So this may be because of the dumping of the food into the stomach. This may lead to the several symptoms like giddiness, hypotension. As sudden more amount of food has suddenly entered into the stomach, that may lead to the autonomic derangements in a person, that is called as dumping syndrome. So you read detail about this. Either in your book, some information is given in your physiology books, otherwise you can see in the internet or recent books you see and make your own notes of dumping syndrome. Okay. Now coming on to the vomiting. So as I told you, vomiting occurs whenever there is a reverse peristalsis occurs, isn't it? So I am giving you this as a home assignment. Okay. So read detail about the vomiting. What is vomiting? It is a reflexive process, isn't it? Whenever something irritant is there in the mouth or throat, in the pharynx. Okay, so vomiting, over distension of stomach is occur or pyloric obstruction is occur. The peristaltic way becomes reverse. Okay, and sudden expulsion of content of stomach. Okay, into the esophagus and into the mouth and vomiting occurs. So you make a detailed note of this. What is vomiting? What are the causes of vomiting? Okay. So this is your home assignment. Today's home assignment. Okay. Now coming on to the motility of small intestine. Okay. So after stomach, the food is poured into the intestine. So intestine has three parts, as you know. It has a duodenum. So this is the small intestine. Small intestine has three parts, that is duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Okay, around our intestine is around 6 feet. Okay, so even our ileum itself is 3.5 meters. Our jejunum is around 2.5 meters. Okay, duodenum is around 25 centimeter. Okay, so that much long our intestine is. Okay, then this our small intestine leads to the large intestine. Okay, so large intestine has ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, okay, sigmoid colon, rectum and anus. Okay, so these are the different parts. So what type of motility occurs in our small intestine? So as like that in case of a stomach we have seen hunger contractions. Okay, even we have seen migrating myoelectric complexes in stomach also. Peristaltic movement also is there in the stomach. Okay, and but in here we have the villus contraction and segmental contraction. These are not there in the stomach, and peristaltic contraction are very much classical in case of intestine. Okay, they are not that much in the stomach, but they are very classical in small intestine. Okay, so these are the different types of small intestinal motility, that is segmentation movements. So this means the different segments will be formed, okay, in the intestine. Peristaltic movement, this is a propulsive movement. So segmentation movement, it is a mixing movement. Different segments will be formed and it will help in mixing of gastric juice, bile juice, not gastric juice, pancreatic juice and bile juice with the content of the small intestine. And peristaltic movement, mainly they are the propulsive movement, that is they help in propulsion of content forwards, that is towards the rectum. Okay, these migrating myoelectrical complexes, they are interdigestive movement. As I told you, in the stomach they are the housekeepers of the GI tract. They help to remove whatever remains are there in the stomach and small intestine. Okay, so now the villus contraction. These villus contraction, they help in whatever has been observed will be reach into the circulation. Okay, so these are the different movements of small intestine. So little detail about this migrating motor complexes. So they occur regularly. Okay, regular 5 centimeter per minute. Okay, so the speed of these is 5 centimeter per minute and they occur every 60 to 90 minutes. They are in the interdigestive phase as I already told you. So they are regular movements. They travel at a rate of 5 centimeter per minute and they occur every 60 to 90 minutes. And close correlation between basal electrical rhythm and migrating motor complexes. There is a correlation, coordination between basal electrical rhythm and migrating motor complexes. Okay, now the associated with increasing gastric secretion, bile flow and pancreatic secretion. So these contractions are associated with the increase in secretion of gastric, bile and pancreatic secretion. These contraction abolishes immediately with entry of food. So as I told you, they are interdigestive contractions. So as whenever the food enters into the GI tract, these migrating motor complexes will end. They will abolish. Okay. So movement during those are the MNCs are the movements which occurs in the interdigestive phase. Now movements during digestive period they are the mixing movement, that is segmentation movement, and propulsive movements those are the peristaltic movements, and movements of villi. Okay, so these are the movements which occur during digestive phase of our GI tract, that is mixing movement, propulsive movements and movements of villi. Okay, so mixing movements are they are responsible for mixing of chyme with digestive juices like intestine, bile and pancreatic juices, and they include segmental contractions and pendular movements. So what are the mixing movements? They are mainly the segmental contractions and pendular movements. Okay, what are segmental contraction? So these are the most common type of small intestinal contractions, regular rhythmic segmental contractions. So here they are regular and rhythmic. So small segment contracts and adjoining segment will relax. So here what happens, small segment of a small intestine will contract and the adjoining, the beside segment will relax. So alternate contracted and relaxed segment, so ring like appearance is found. Okay, the function of these contractions are slow down transit time and increase contact time with the absorption. Okay, so they increases the contact time of food with the mucosa and they increase the contact time and they increase the absorption. Whenever food particle come in contact with the mucosa, then only the absorption will occur and propels the chyme slowly towards the colon. So segmentation movement, very important function is to mix and increase the contact time of food with the mucosa to increase the absorption. Propulsion is very less in case of segmental movement. Okay, so rate and duration are there 12 per minute in case of duodenum. So as you move from duodenum to ileum, the rate of these contraction decreases. So they are highest in the duodenum, they decreases in the jejunum and ileum. Okay, so they are 12 per minute in duodenum and they reduce to 8 times per minute in the ileum. Okay, again there are two types, eccentric and concentric segmental movement. Okay, so now coming on to the, so here the peristaltic movement is shown here. So muscle, circular muscles will contract behind the foot. Okay, this is the bolus of foot and here in front of the foot the relaxation of the muscle. So here the longitudinal muscle will contract causing the relaxation and here the circular muscles will contract to cause the constriction. So like this the food will propel. So this continue, contraction and relaxation continues till the food will reach to the rectum. Okay. So now how the segmental contractions are controlled. So initiation occurs only when slow wave produces spike or action potential. So when the basal electrical rhythm reaches to threshold and produces spike or action potential, then only these contraction will be initiated. Okay, so its frequency is directly related to frequency of slow wave and controlled by pacemaker cells. Okay, strength proportional to frequency of spike generated by the slow waves. Okay, then pendular movement, these are like movement of pendulum. Okay, again there are the mixing moment. Okay, small constrictive waves sweep forwards and backwards or upwards and downwards in a pendular fashion. They also help in mixing of the food. So constrictive wave sweeps forward or backwards or upwards and downwards in a pendular fashion. These are called as pendular movements. Okay, then propulsive movements. Propulsive movements are, as I told you, they are peristaltic contractions and one more is peristaltic rush. Okay, they involved in pushing the chyme towards the aboral end or towards the rectum or anus. Okay, so these include peristaltic contraction and peristaltic rush. What are peristaltic contractions? So here the wave of contraction preceded by wave of relaxation. This what I showed you in the diagram. Okay, wave of contraction preceded by wave of relaxation. They are highly coordinated contraction, involve contraction of segment behind bolus and relaxation in front. Consist of deep circular ring at 0.5 to 2 centimeter per second. Chyme moves at 1 centimeter per minute. So there are 3 to 4 hours from pylorus to iliac valve. Okay. So the food has to, wave has to travel from the pylorus to the ileocecal valve. It takes around 3 to 4 hours. Okay. So now, what is law of intestine? So Starling in 1901 told that the polarity, this is also called as polarity of intestine or polar conduction of intestine or electrical activity of intestine, or it is also called as law of gut or theory of receptive relaxation. So this shows that peristaltic contraction travel from point of stimulation in both direction, that is aboral and oral, both the direction, but contraction in oral direction disappears. Okay, so at the point of stimulation, the wave have a tendency to spread to both the direction, that is oral and aboral. But contraction in oral direction disappears and persists in aboral direction. This is called as law of gut or law of intestine. Hence, the peristaltic wave always moves towards the aboral direction. Okay. Coming on to the what is the function of this peristaltic movement. So as I told you, propulsion of food, and they also help in digestion and absorption of food. So how it is controlled? So this peristaltic wave initiated, stimulus here is distension. So whenever food is there in the stomach and small intestine, distension occurs. That itself will act as a stimulus for starting the peristaltic movement. Okay, so rate is around 2 to 2.5 centimeter per second. Local stretch releases serotonin, activate sensory neurons, stimulate meandric plexus. Okay, and these activity travel in either direction to release acetylcholine and substance P. Okay, they called circular contractions, and nitric oxide and vasoactive inhibitory peptide, okay, will lead to the receptive relaxation in front of the chyme. Okay, so behind the chyme, acetylcholine and substance P causes circular constriction, and in front, the nitric oxide and vasoactive inhibitory peptide leads to receptive relaxation. Okay, so that is about the peristaltic movement. What is peristaltic rush? So very powerful peristaltic contraction are called as peristaltic rush. Very strong and powerful peristaltic movement is called as peristaltic rush. So when intestinal mucosa is irritated, okay, it is initiated, partly initiated by extrinsic nervous system and partly by mesenteric reflex. Begins in the duodenum through entire length up to the ileocecal wall. Relieve small intestine irritant or extensive distension. So whenever some irritant is there in the duodenum or small intestine, or it is very much distended, over distended, so these peristaltic rush waves will come to relieve the small intestine from that irritant substances or to relieve the over distension of the small intestine. So this occur usually, example, diarrhea. Okay, in diarrhea you might have, all of you might have felt what type of contraction you feel during diarrhea and abdominal upset. Okay, so those are called as peristaltic rush. Okay, now these are some of the diagram to show you. So as I told you, way of contraction. Okay, so peristaltic movements are propulsive movement. So the content will move forward. So this contraction wave move forwards and it will move the content of the intestine. So these are the segmental or mixing movements. So you can make here the small segments will be formed. Okay, part of will be constricted and the adjacent part will be relaxed. Okay, like that the segments will be formed. This help in proper mixing of food with the gastric juices. Okay, like pancreatic juice, intestinal juice and bile juice. It helps in mixing. It also helps in grinding. That is, bigger particles will be make broken down into the smaller particle. These are called as the segmental movement. So here also you can make out segmental contraction are responsible for mixing. So whatever content is there here, because of the wave of contraction, half will come here, half will go here. Okay, so wave of contraction is here and wave of relaxation is here. So like this mixing occurs. Okay, you can see here. So wherever there is a relaxation, next there is a constriction wave. Wherever there is a constriction, next the relaxation occurs. You are understanding? So no net forward movement occurs here. No net forward movement of food, but mixing of food occur because of formation of waves, alternate constriction and relaxation waves, and the intestine will become segments, will form a different segments. I hope you understood this movement properly now. Okay, these are called as segmental movements. Okay, next, what are the movements of villi? Okay, so it consists of alternate shortening and elongation of villi. So intestine will have villi, you know. Okay, so they will be alternate shortening and elongation of villi by contraction and relaxation of muscles, smooth muscles which are present in the villi. So they are initiated by local nervous reflexes like villi hormones from the which is secreted from the small intestinal mucosa. Function helps in emptying lymph from central lacteal into the lymphatic system. Okay, and these movement increases the surface area, so increases the absorption. Okay, so these are called as movement of villi or villus movement. Then some of the reflexes which occurs in our small intestine, you must know that those are called as motility reflexes, that is gastroiliac reflex and intestinal reflex. What is this gastroiliac reflex? So distension of stomach by food causes reflex stimulation of vagus. This leads to relaxation of ileocecal sphincter. So distension of stomach is leading to ileocecal sphincter and content of the small intestine, whatever is remained is poured into the large intestine. So this you might have observed after food many people will feel defecation. Okay, feeling a defecation reflex, okay, or going to the washroom. This is because of this gastroileal reflex. So whenever the stomach is distended or whenever there is food in the stomach, this causes relaxation of ileocecal sphincter. This is called as gastroileal reflex. And intestinal reflex, what is this? Over distension of one segment of the intestine causes relaxation of smooth muscle of rest of the intestine. So, if one segment of intestine is over distended, it leads to relaxation of smooth muscle of rest of the intestine. Okay, so to relieve the over distension of this side. Okay, so this is called as intestinal reflex. Okay, so these are some of the motility reflexes. Okay, now coming on to the some of the applied aspect of intestinal motility, that is paralytic ileus. So paralytic ileus and intestinal obstruction. So these are the two applied aspects which are commonly occurring. One is paralytic ileus, one is intestinal obstruction. So what is this paralytic ileus, or it is also called as adynamic ileus. Adynamic means ileum is not moving. Okay. So what is the pathology here? The intestinal motility markedly decrease leads to retention of content. Okay. Irregular distension of small intestine by packet of gas and fluid occurs. Okay. So this occur usually because of some presence of some irritant. Okay. So what are the causes? Direct inhibition of smooth muscle of small intestine due to handling of the intestine, improper handling of the intestine. Example, intra-abdominal operations or injury to the intestine, that is trauma. Reflex inhibition due to increased discharge of noradrenergic fibers in splanchnic nerves. So what are the causes? This is abnormal handling of the intestine during operative procedure or injury to the intestine that may lead to the adynamic ileus or paralytic ileus, that is called a paralytic ileus. Okay, so intestinal obstruction. This may occur because of the tumor or stricture. Okay. So ileocecal valve may be obstructed or pyloric sphincter may be strictured and fibrotic band in the abdomen. So these are the factors for intestinal obstruction. What are the feature? Intestinal colic, that is very severe pain the patient will develop. Severe pain due to peristaltic rush. Because of the obstruction, intestine tries to empty itself. Hence, the strong peristaltic wave occurs that leads to severe, but content cannot be pushed. Hence, severe pain occurs. And distension of small intestine due to increased intraduminal pressure, local ischemia. Because of the pressure, okay, the blood vessels will be obstructed and local ischemia may occur, sweating occurs, hypotension and severe vomiting due to stimulation of visceral afferent nerve occurs. Okay, so these are all the features, signs and symptoms of intestinal obstruction. When obstruction is in the upper part of the small intestine, anti-peristaltic reflex causes intestinal juice to flow into the stomach. Okay. So if obstruction is in the upper part of the small intestine, anti-peristaltic reflex causes intestinal juice to flow into the stomach. When obstruction in the upper part of the small intestine occurs, vomit become more basic than acidic because intestinal contents are basic. So these intestinal content will reach to the stomach, hence the vomitus becomes more basic. So depending upon the what type of vomiting occur, if the contents are more acidic, then these are content of from the stomach itself. If the content are basic, means the contents are coming from the small intestine. So obstruction is beyond the intestine. Okay. So like that we can identify. So this is just to show you the how the small intestine and large intestine is arranged in our abdomen. So it's around, how much is our intestine? It is around 20 to 30 feet long. Okay. Now, these are some of the ways to show you the how they are propagated. Basal electrical rhythm. So, in between spike potential. So, in duodenum contraction occur at a interval of 5 seconds or multiples of 5. Okay. So, each contraction occur at multiples of 5. Okay. Now, here okay, so here these are the slow waves. Okay, so when these slow waves reaches a threshold, okay, then the spike potential or action potential occurs. Whenever there is a action potential, contraction, peristaltic contraction or segmental contraction will begin. Okay, so as I already told you, frequency of slow waves 12 per minute in duodenum and decreases to 9 per minute in the ilium, isn't it? So now I think you understood this is the basal electrical rhythm. Okay, when it reaches the threshold, then spike potential occurs and contraction coincides, coordinate with the base spike potential. Okay, now one more pattern to show the segmental movement and so observative state. Okay, this is the post observative state. Okay, so these are the peristaltic movements. Next is one more diagram to show you, show you the peristaltic movement. So this is the way of contraction. So acetylcholine or substance P causes the wave of contraction. The bolus is propelled forward. Okay, here it is the wave of relaxation. Way of relaxation is because of the vasoactive inhibitory peptide. Okay, so this is the relaxation contraction wave and this is the relaxation wave. This occurs in the peristaltic movements. Okay, so this is about the movements of small intestine. So we will finish here. So any doubt, I hope it's very much clear to you the movements of stomach and intestine. Go through whatever books you are having, make your own notes. Still, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, shall you do here? Yes? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can mail me or I think you will be coming soon offline. Okay, so you can ask me, but till then you read and make your own notes. Okay, stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.